Compound interest is very easy to understand, so I'm going to do that quickly, and then I'm going to explain how you can unlock the power of compounding interest. Imagine starting with $1,000 and you make 10% interest. That's $100. You multiply that times 10 years and you've doubled your money. $1,000 to $2,000. But the power of compounding is actually even better than that. It actually it doubles in 7.2 years, which is the power of 72. Albert Einstein created the power of 72. He didn't create it, he figured it out. 72 divided by the interest rate of 10% is 7.2. So that's how quick you'll double any amount of money. If you put $5,000 into something and you don't put any additions in, it will double in 7.2 years. If you only make 9, or say you're only making 2%, 72 divided by 2 is 36. It would take you 36 years to double your money. Any amount that you put in, it doesn't matter. To double that initial investment, you divide 72 by whatever interest rate you can possibly make per year. So depending on the amount of risk that you want to put out there, if you want to do something incredibly safe like a bond, then that's fine. You only make 3%. You divide 72 by 3 and you double your money in that amount of years. So you take $1,000, you double it to $2,000 in 7.2 years, and now you're making 10% on $2,000. That's $200 on your initial investment of $1,000. So you start technically making 20% on your initial investment, and that's where the real power of compounding comes in. But what happens is, by the time 7.2 years go by, someone has sold their investment. The average person only owns their house for 7.2 years, so how can you expect someone to sit there and stare at their Google investment for 7.2 years? By the time 7 years go by, Google has definitely doubled by then. Facebook probably has doubled by then. So whatever stock you pick, it may not have doubled in 7.2 years, but maybe McDonald's, it didn't double, but you collected a dividend along the way. So it did technically double, and with collecting that and compounding that as well into your investment, then that would do it. But the problem is people sell it. Patience is the #1 most difficult thing for people to double their money. Everybody knows how to invest. Well, not everybody, but it's pretty simple. You buy things. You buy a house. You buy a bond. You buy Google stock. You put money into your IRA. Your parents have all told you to save money. You have income. You go to work. It doesn't matter how good your job is. You save a little bit of money, even if it's only $50 to $100 per month. You end up saving it and you put it away and you put it into something that makes interest. It's pretty simple. But people make it so much more complicated because they see all these success stories of people turning $1,000 into $10,000, or this guy bought cryptocurrencies and he bought Bitcoin and he tripled his money and da da da. Well, you know what? You look at that, you stare at that chart on Bitcoin that goes straight up in the air and it comes back down very quickly. A lot of the people who had Bitcoin at $2,000 and it went to $20,000, they may have bought even more along the way and then watched all of it come back down. You don't know that all of these people, a lot of them were talking about being millionaires while Bitcoin was at $20,000. That's easy, but they could be putting more money in, and if they're fully invested at that point and it starts coming down, then they just watch it and stare at it while it's starting to go back down to where it was, and then they start selling it, and then when they start selling it off and they say, oh, I guess I made a little bit of money, that's when it starts to go back up again, and then they start jumping in again. So it's a game that you're going to play over 5 to 10 years if you don't just keep your initial investment. Like I said, patience is the most difficult thing. It's like losing weight. Losing weight is the most simple formula in the world. Go outside, go for a walk. Go outside, go for a run. Get off the couch and do some push-ups. Stop eating chips. It's the simplest formula in the world, but people don't do it. For 7.2 years, if you take $1,000 and you double it to $2,000 and then you take it out, you're going to pay $300 in taxes. So once you pay the $300 in taxes, you're left with $1,700, and you take it out of that investment, you put it into a new investment, and now you have to go up the 30% just to get to even again. So it's not going to take you 7.2 years to double your money again. So think about that. You have $2,000 already invested at 7.2 years. If you leave it there for 7.2 more years, it's going to turn into $4,000. However, if you take it out and you've made $1,000 profit, you pay $300 in taxes and you have $1,700 left. Now you put it into a new investment that's going to compound for 7.2 years and it's going to turn into $3,400. I'm not talking about a get-rich-quick scheme. I'm not talking about buying this and selling this, or a formula for buying and selling and trading and day trading and all these different things that you have to do for a full-time job, and paying taxes at the end of the year and trying to manage all of your buys and sells and all of your profits and losses, and then you got to tell your tax guy at the end of the year. It turns into a total mess. Just buy it and leave it there and collect the compound interest over the years. Albert Einstein says that compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. That's very simple to understand. I have $10,000, I loan it to you because I understand compounding interest. And I tell you, I'm going to charge you 6% interest. Year 1, I make 6%. Year 2, I make 6% plus the 6% the year before. Year 3, I make 6% plus the 2 years before. And I continue compounding the money that you're giving me. You, on the other hand, took a $10,000 loan and you're paying 6% interest on it every single year. So it's an additional fee for you instead of saving and compounding. So you're the one who doesn't understand it and you're paying me who does understand it. It doesn't make much more sense than that. So Tony Robbins says to start early and to unlock the power of compounding interest. So unlock the power of compound interest, he says, which means you need to wait. So my 1,000 turns into 2,000, and then my 2,000 turns into 4,000, and it starts kind of unlocking. You can see it unlocking and just ready to put the pedal to the metal. It's about to just fly up. So your 4,000 turns into 8,000 and so on. The longer you hold it, the more you unlock that power. You're blocking the power and you're kind of hitting the brakes. Every time you go from 1,000 to 2,000, you sell it and you pay taxes, you're pumping the brakes a little bit. You're stopping, and then you hit the gas again and you go from 1,700 up to 3,400, and then you pump the brakes back down below 3,000. And then you hit the gas again on the next one and it goes up to 6,000, and then you pump the brakes again. So pumping the brakes all the way up is not unlocking the power of compounding interest. Holding on to it is what unlocks the power. Benjamin Franklin back in the day was talking about compounding interest, and he says that an investment in knowledge is the best investment. So, he has a lot of quotes also that go on to compound interest, but knowledge really helps as well. Warren Buffett brings both of these things together by saying, read 500 pages per day. It's like compound interest. You'll learn more over the years. And it's completely true. You read one book today, or one book a month. You read one book this month, next month, and the next month. Okay, great. You read 3 books. That's wonderful. Now, you read them all about real estate. Your 4th book that you pick up about real estate is going to have a lot of the same things that you've already read about in the first 3 books. So this is the compounding part of knowledge. You have your 4th book, and not only are you a little bit better at reading, you can read it a little bit faster, you can read it a little bit more intelligently, because the first 3 books might have a few words that you needed to understand and learn, and getting back in the groove of understanding how to read really quickly and understand and retain all of that knowledge. So the 4th book that you read about real estate is going to be where the compounding starts to happen on the knowledge. You're going to just be able to understand everything, every one of those terms. And then once you understand the first term, you just read into it and you kind of catch something. So you would understand this if you ever watched a movie a second or third time and you say, man, you're really going to watch that one a second time. You catch all those other jokes because you already heard the first joke. You're ready for it, and then they say a second thing. So you're ready for the first part of the knowledge on the real estate, and then you hear the second thing, and it really starts to retain, and you really start to gain all of that knowledge about real estate. So reading compounds quickly, And when you continue reading and reading and reading, that 100th book that you're reading, it doesn't matter what subject it's about, when you're reading your 100th book, you're going to retain so much more in that book than you did on your first book that you read, because of all the knowledge that you gained in the 99 books that you read the first time. You're just going to have this power of wealth and education reading that 100th book. So that just compounds up, and you really start to learn. Also a book called The Millionaire Teacher. It's a short book, it's an easy read, and it's meant for the beginners. So they say to buy one index fund that is a group of US stocks. They say to buy a second index fund that is a group of international stocks, and to buy a third index fund that is a group of bonds. So if you take those three things, you have diversified into almost everything that you can possibly diversify into. There's 500 to 1,000 stocks in each one of those things. And then obviously the bonds, there's government bonds and corporate bonds all together into those things. So when you buy those three things, you have diversified quite a bit. If you want it to be a little bit more risky, then go lower on the bonds. If you want it to be a little bit more safe, then go more into the bonds. And a corporate bond is basically just a loan. So a corporation, if they actually had to close their doors today, they would have to pay off all of their loans and all of their bonds before they pay the shareholders. So if I own a corporate bond from Google and you own the Google stock, and something happens to Google, then they're going to liquidate everything that they have, and I'm going to get paid before you do. So, that's why it's a little bit more safe. That's why you get a less of an interest rate, and you end up having a better chance of getting your money back. There's less risk to lose your money, which is always a good thing. Thank you.